21, and at the Civic Center is 70 degrees. That's 21 Celsius.
We're online. Yeah. Hi, everyone. Hello.
Hey.
Hello.
Yep. So Mehdi, could you please tell a little bit about yourself, about your career?
Okay, so basically I'm a French animator. Now I did most of my career in Japan. So I started as animation school. I did the first animation school in Paris. It's called IIM, and it was not exactly an animation school, but more kind of a multimedia school, like more like using softwares like Photoshop, graphic designs, learning graphic design, learning how to do websites. And also we learned also the 2D and 3D software, more 3D softwares. So after 3 years in this school, I decided to go Superfocom. Superfocom is a 3D school now called Rubrica. They changed their name to Rubrica. And I did 3 more years of study there. Okay, so after these studies, I noticed during the studies, I noticed I prefer doing 2D animation. So I decided to learn by myself 2D animation. So I studied by myself, drawing a lot on the studying anatomy and stuff. So when I left my first school, I left in the middle of the year. So during these 6 months left, I decided to go to a hard drawing training. So I went to the Beaux-Arts to kind of enter the class, kind of not illegally, but I asked to the professor, like, hey, can you let me go to the like live drawing session? So she accepted and I could go there. On the evening, I also took another class of live drawing. So I did kind of full days live drawing, so to learn the anatomy basics and stuff. Then I went to Superfocom. So I had kind of basics of drawing with this system. And then in Superfocom, I met some cool friends and that loved 2D too. And together we kind of influenced each other to work and to train our 2D skills. So I could get some basics at Superfocom with friends and talking to everyone. Also during this time, I met one good friend now, and his name is Adrien Gromel. He's previously from Gobelin. He did the school of Gobelin. And he taught me also some basics.
And he actually was here in our stream as well.
Yes, so.
You're always following his steps.
Okay. So since I decided to go into the animation, I decided to create some animations I could post on my website, on Vimeo, and it was Vimeo on Facebook this time. Instagram was not there yet. So I decided to post some work, and because of this work, I got some offers. So I could start freelancing for 2D animation, but at this time it was more like kind of experimental jobs I could have with some special studios. And then after this, I had the opportunity to make an internship in Illumination MacGuff for doing 3D animation. So I did 3 months there during the summer. and I definitely understood that 3D is not for me. I wanted to go more 2D option. Yes. So after this, after a few months working, and I finished my internship, I started to work also on freelancing 2D animation. And I had a news that my graduation movie was selected in the Nagoya Festival film, animation film. So I heard this and I went with a friend, Quentin Pointillard. He's a friend from Superinfocom. And I went with him to go to the festival. So we went there, and then we could make some contacts. We met some people, and we could see our movie there. Like people could see the movie, and I got some job offers. So I decided to come back and live in Japan for 1 year just for try. It was a new experience, and I was in the beginning of my career, so I decided to try it. Basically, it was not my first goal. My first goal was to go in London, working in some studio like Golden Wolves, The Line Animation, and mainly working for advertising because I could have more creativity on small projects. We could try more stuff. But the Japanese option appears, so I tried it. Okay, so after this, so I started to work my first year in Japan. So when I arrived there, I was really surprised by the country. Like it was really different from what I saw before, and I understood many references to the anime I was watching before. Like, oh, it looks like the anime. Oh, it looks like Pokemon the game. Oh, it looks like, and I understood many references, and it was like kind of so cool. Like, so I started to create a visa to go there, and I went to the company, and I started to work on some animation. So I did some 2D animation and 3D animation. At the time, this company was not clearly a Japanese animation company like the big studio I worked for later. It was more kind of small company, but they were doing many different things, like working for video games on the small advertising project or stuff like this. So then I stayed there like 9 months. So and then I started to have many freelances offer. So because of the work, I was regularly posting on SNS my work and stuff. So I think my level improved during this time. So I got many freelance offers. So I started to left the company after almost 1 year with them, and to starting freelance activity. And at the time, I knew Eddie Mehong. He was the boss of Yapiko. Yapiko was the French-Japanese studio based in Japan. And since he was kind of friend, because we were watching Game of Thrones together, and we are kind of talking often and everything, I asked him, like, is it okay to just come in the studio to just work on my project, but kind of make a team, like co-working place? And if you want, I can pay the fee or everything. He said, don't pay anything, just come and it will be cool and everything. So I joined the studio, and I worked there for my project, and Eddie was working on his project. And later I got some offer. Eddie came and asked me, do you want to work on this project, And I said yes. So I started to work on small projects for video games and stuff. And let's stop now for the translation, and I will go to the next step later. So after a certain amount of time, so there I also met another friend whose name is Ken Arto. Ken Arto is a French-Japanese animator. So he started his career from the beginning in Japan as in-betweener. And when he finished his time as in-betweener, he went to Yapiko. And there he could start kind of helping Eddie on some project and also working on some Genga work. So Yapiko was, working with some studio also, like taking some cuts from movies or series. So we started to work on some projects. The first project we started to work on was for me. Ken had already other projects working on because he speaks Japanese and he could start a bit sooner. but for me it was Space Battleship Yamato. So it was a really old school anime, really cool on the like spaceship fighting anime. So I did my first cuts there, and it was fun. And I discovered how much hard is the Japanese animation. And,
What's the title?
Space Battleship Yamato.
Uh-huh.
So after this, so I animated my first cuts on trying to fit to the model. So I was pretty scary to not fit the model and everything. So my drawing was really shy. And then after this, I thought I finished the cut. So I was ready to send the video export, but Ken came back to me and said, "No, sorry, it's not this way. In Japan, you have to fill a timesheet, and you have to fill the timesheet, and you have to write all indication in Japanese, and write this, and all the layer have a system to." And then I entered kind of a nightmare because it was not as easy as do your animation and push play. You had many things to think to make your animation like readable for the team, for the studio. So I spent 2 more days on my animation than to finish to set the shot for the exports, the timesheets, the naming the layers, and the separating all layers in the good system, Japanese system, and everything. And I swear this time I will never work on a Japanese project again. So yes, so I thought I will never work on Japanese project again. Then Eddie came and said, "Oh, we have a proposition to work on Dragon Ball Super." I was like, "Oh, it's interesting, it's cool. I'm not sure I will work on it because it was the new series, but I want to work on it maybe. Let's see." And then he came back a few days later and told me, "Yeah, sorry, it's not from we will not work on the series, but we will work on the movie." Then I said, "Oh, the movie," like the big movie. Like the quality on movies is always higher and trying to reach. So, and he showed me the storyboard because in Japanese animation, like the Seisaku Shinko, it means the production manager. Like they are kind of sending the storyboard on the design to the animator and let him choose if he wants to participate, on which cut he would like to participate, and if the cut is free to be taken, he can take it. So I had the opportunity to choose my cut, so I could choose a freezer animation cut, and I decided to take this animation and to do it again. Even if it was painful, I will do it again because it's cool and it will be the last one. So it's okay for this. So I did it. I did the first cut. I sent my rough animation. It took approximately 2 weeks, something like this, I remember. Not remember well, but it was like something like 2 weeks trying to get used to the model and after animating it. I was not secure with my skills at the time, so it took time, but I could finish it. So maybe yes, for translation. So yes. So after I finished the rough animation, we waited approximately 6 months before getting the corrections, and I was really happy because I didn't have any animation correction, but just model correction, which is totally fair because this is the way the movie keep the uniformity, like the same image everywhere. So I could do the corrections and I could send it to, and everything was okay. And in the correction, the lead animator wrote like, "Thank you for this hard cut. You could manage it well," like this. So I was like, "Whoa!" First time I could. I have this kind of small message, and it was really great. And the second project I animated was like the third project I could animate was not expected. It was My Hero Academia. Like I was watching this TV show, I loved it, and AG came again, and "Oh, we have My Hero Academia." I said, "Oh, really?" Here we go again. Okay, let's go. So yeah, and yeah,
Mhm.
So after this, there was many opportunity coming, always cool projects, and I decided to keep working hard on this. And it was fun because I was working really in team with Ken Arto, so we were always working together on some projects. So it's always funny. You are working on some cool project and you work with good friends, and you are like in kind of there is a kind of emulation, kind of energy, and it's so cool. Like, so I remember we worked on My Hero Academia on the three different season, like, or 2 different season maybe, but 3 or 4 times for them. And during one of this time, we spent like 1 week, like no, 11 days sleeping at the studio, and sleeping like 6 hours, and wake up and drawing, and sleeping again. And we were putting the music of My Hero Academia. So we were taking shower. Don't worry. We had a gym close to the office, so we went to take shower at the gym at this time. And there was a small like closet. On the closet, we put one small bed there, and we could sleep in the dark. So it was comfortable, kind of. So it was really exciting because like the pressure was high and the expectation was high. We were working for a big studio that didn't used to work a lot with foreigners. It was Bones, and they really set a short deadline, so we had to finish everything at the time. So it was really stressful, but really funny at the time also. So from there, I started my Japanese career, and I never gave up. And during this time, I was also working for European projects, so European Western project mainly, also. So I could keep kind of a financial balance between those two things, and I could also kind of work on different styles, because I could work on Japanese style, but also I could work on European style. And since both styles getting more and more influenced, like especially European style, Western side is influenced by Japanese style recently. So I could have it was a really a plus for me. So I started to get really many offers and many propositions. So since this time, I didn't have, like, how to say, I didn't have to look for a job. Job really came to me directly. Also, Japanese project, since I started to post on Twitter some animation cuts, I got many offers from different studios. So I really didn't have to look for any job since almost 3 or 4 years like this. Yes. So I think that's pretty all for my career story. So now I'm back in France. I'm waiting for a new visa to go back to Japan again. And I'm working for different studios still in Japanese animation. Also I forgot one step. I forgot the step of after those things, I started to work for Yondoshi. So Yondoshi is Studio 4C. They are famous for Tekken Concrete. In French, we call this Amer Béton. I think Tekken Concrete is more famous. And Mind Game also. So, and they are creating a new movie. So I was working on it. I'm working on it still for the project. I didn't do many cuts on it. I mean, one big sequence, but I worked on it. So it's cool. Basically, I wanted to work like full time on this studio, but since I had to go back Japan for some personal reason, I couldn't keep working full time for them. So, but next time maybe. Yes. So I think for my experience, I think it's pretty old now. Like I worked on also City Hunter. I forgot to say City Hunter. I worked for Cannon Buster. It's a Netflix show, and I worked for many other advertising show. I don't know if you know, like IZZO or the League of Legends trailer Takeover, and many other projects.
Yeah, it's very famous in our I guess community.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So that's great. So, okay. So I think that's pretty all for my career. So which steps should we go on now?
Alina, can you tell what people saying?
Yep, Now we're having almost 100 viewers, so quite a big audience. And the audience is thanking you for your job, for anime and games. And yeah, many people are writing they have the same steps on their career. So it's very relatable. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope I can help.
Yeah, and I think we can start with our students, but first it's gonna be shown the demo reel, and then you can start to share your screen after that. Okay? So yeah, okay, Anya. Да.
No human being is that humane.
It's good. So you can start, Mehdi.
Okay, so I can start sharing screen.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it okay if I play the show reel again?
Yeah.
Okay, so I will focus now on the acting part.
No human being is that.
Best part anyway, so.
No human being is that humane. No human being is that humane.
Okay, so I will start with what I appreciate on this, and after I will go on the detail I would improve maybe on this.
Sure.
So on the beginning, so let's begin.
No human being is that humane.
Basically, what I appreciate on your acting is you didn't try to do too much. Most of actings I can see have too much poses and try to overact. And I see you were pretty, like, let's say, you didn't put too much poses, and the poses you added was clear and understandable and really beautiful for this one. We understand like the position of the head, position of the hands and everything. I mean, you can push it, I think, more, but for what I see, it's pretty good and clear. Because the first thing in animation is to be clear before trying to make something beautiful. Basically, in art, the first step is to be clear, and this is the first step is really reached on this. Okay, so now I will just open it in TV Paint so we can play it frame by frame, and we can check in detail. Sorry for the time of importation. So I will, during this time, I will check again one more time.
No human being is that humane. No human being is that humane.
Okay. So I think it will be good. No? No, still not. Yeah, we are on 50% almost. I will start to review a bit here. So what I can see on your acting is the action is pretty smooth and pretty soft, but at the point it's maybe too rigid for me in my mind. Art is like animation, art in general is built by contrast by speed motion and slow motion. Even in slow motion, there should be, I think, some contrasts to create interest, to create appeal on the animation. On this animation, everything is pretty regular. like,
Mm.
so it should be, it can be regular, but it can still be like some small acceleration and after some kind of motion on like contrasting. So for now, this is what I see. I will be more precise on the when it's done.
Yeah, I understand what you mean. I mean, I guess I try to make it like different places where it kind of accelerates and where it's slow, but it's not clear enough. And it's still too similar.
Actually, it's also hard to define those places and to make it natural, but it's the review is like kind of precise review. Basically, the acting is really working well, and you have really clear intention, and that's what people expect from the production. Like we want something in production that can be understandable by people, especially for acting.
Mm.
So also another thing I like is the cool contrast created by the difference between motion between the hands moving and the posing slowly go. So you created at least some contrast on this, and it was good. One major problem on this acting for me is also the volume, and the model is kind of swiping, moving, like how to say. And this is sometimes due to the cleanup system. So when I do my rough and I do all my posing on the rough, I will clean up posing by posing, and I will check my volumes, but it can change during all the animation. So the system I use to avoid these problems is to first like say create my rough drawing, and then come back to my first pose and clean up the first pose, clean up the last pose, and then clean up the middle pose regarding the first and the last pose. When everything is strong, I start to go in like the middle of the middle and the middle of the middle, till I get something really, till I can double check the volumes very well. I can double check everything, and then I go to the small in betweens, and I'm sure the line will not be moving, and I can be really precise. So I will try to show maybe this. I use this on not in an acting situation, but more action, because it's more clear. But for example, like the character is kind of there, then sorry, just make it more clear. Okay. So checking the volumes. Sorry, I'm switching the screen because it's the way I used to work. Sorry. Then. Doing really a rough drawing just to show the system. Okay, so from this pose to this pose, like I will, like let's say I did a complex rough animation under this. So this is the main poses of the rough animation, for example. So if I want to clean up this, I will start to clean up those 3 poses. And then, sorry, just a small minute, yes. Okay, so I will start to clean up those 3 poses. And I will focus then on the in-betweens. So I will just clean up those 3. Tack, tack, tack. And then I will decide to clean up this with the onion skin, for example. And also regarding my rough. And also regarding the flipping my drawings to be sure everything works well. So, and I will try to think about how my in-betweens will work. Not only putting a drawing really in between this, but thinking how the motion works between this and this. Normally this is done on the rough. So when it's done on the rough, you just need to double check the volumes if everything is really clear or not. Maybe it was easier if I do it on the face. Now it's the drawing is pretty rough. Okay, for example. Sorry, the drawing is pretty rough and I animate really quick, so sorry for the bad drawings. But yeah. So I'm trying to check. So now I'm checking some volume issues, so I'm just come back and correct it. And try to really have the good drawing, and then I check with this drawing. But normally when I did this drawing, I checked with the previous one, so I'm sure everything is fine. It's not clear on this example because I just wanted to show quickly the system. But if you have clean drawings, it will be more easy.
Yeah, by the way, it's almost an hour of our stream,
Yeah.
so we have 1 hour left, so probably we can move a little bit forward.
So I will check the other animation. Let me check. Okay, so for this, you created the storyboard by yourself. You designed the scene.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, when I see your animation, I feel the motion is good. The only thing I have to say is maybe the way you choose the angles. For dynamic shots, generally we avoid the symmetric angles and we avoid like the middle cuts. For example, let's play it again. On this, like the character is really center in the middle, and maybe we could have something more like energical. Like if I do check with another. I'm thinking with the composition always, because the composition, like when I do a really big animation shot, like with really big action, and I always think I want to do different illustration representing the main action of the motion to make some great moment in the fight. And I always try to think like this. So, for example, you can create contrasts by just thinking about those basic rules, like this. This is also good. Also, it's kind of storyboarding, because the first step before, when I work in Japanese animation, I always have a storyboard in the beginning to start my animation. So if you don't have, create it like by yourself, like on trying to think about composition, like also perspective, also the angle, if you want a wide angle or flat angle. So this time I think you wanted to get something kind of wide. So the line is there. So maybe feet can be there. Since it's an establishing, you can also try to show the scene from upstairs. It can be also cool. But thinking with, I'm trying also to set some diagonals on the screen because it's more dynamic for the actions scenes. You can play it differently, but I think it's a good system to show like kind of easy some dynamic action. So yes, so thinking about some different composition and work well on this specific frames. You don't need to work on the animation at this time, just really one frame showing your cuts. It's enough. And then for this kind of motion, it could be cool also to play with the camera and creating some, for example, different cuts, maybe separated. Like, sorry, okay. So in Japanese animation, they love to show the madness. They love to exaggerate faces.
Oh,
you
yeah.
could, for example, come from this face. You did a middle face. It was possible because it's just to show the emotion, and then coming from something like this. And what is cool also is, since the perspective is mega exaggerate, you can make the eyes a bit looking in different direction to create more madness. Having something from there to there, for example, with adding a slow motion there, create some vertigo effect also in the background. So you will have the perspective changing. So it creates really a great dynamic on the cuts. Yeah. Do you understand a bit the system?
Yeah, I understand what you mean. And that like the crazy look is very popular in anime, of course. But the only thing though, I feel like for such a short like action shot, like doing something like this might be like too much.
Yeah,
because it's so small.
I like, since it's an action scene, like I wanted to show where you can go. Like,
yeah, but if I would ever be able to like make it a little bit longer, add some more, yeah, that would be cool.
I think the timing will be almost same, just the pose will be more extreme and more like, then you can just, so before like I'm already setting the motion, I'm sorry, but before setting the motion, just trying to define like, okay, I want to do everything in the same cut, so I decided to put all the scenes. So I will try to find another part where already the head is really far, playing with the perspective and adding some crazy face angle, like. I'm trying to set it. So for now, it's a bit simple, but just trying to work on some illustration. So for this, think about the composition, think about how you can play with the perspective and stuff to create some crazy effect also on it, around it. Then you know what to do because you have one frame where you think everything. Just one frame, like an illustration, so it's easy to think about the details. If you are thinking everything animation on the you cannot focus. So and when you define some cool poses, you can just try out the motion between them and try to find a good way to show it. If you define cool frames, you will have something cool at the result. What will be important to manage at the end? You set the cool frames, you set the good staging. So at the end, you just have to focus on the motion to make it cool. But the motion is another work. The staging is a work, but the motion is another work. So you can let the motion for later. Focus on the staging first. Really create some much appeal on the motion, on the staging. And then after, the motion is just like getting everything in between, like, so it's easier. You have already the basics. So sorry for the really submarine drawings. I don't have many time to search about the things and everything, but
no, thank you. It's all right. It's all understandable. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm checking again. Yes. So mainly what I can say on this is, when I see this, the size of the head don't change that much. So it could be with the system I told you, you can think about, okay, I want the size of the head changing to create some contrast. So I will think, I want the head this size and I want the head this size. You will do kind of layout posing with what you want. And then after, with the animation, you can correct, you can adapt, you can adjust, but you will have the main intention in the basic drawing. It's just kind of thinking how to match them together. It sometimes adapt, but most of the time you can match them together. This is the way I used to work for the big action scenes. And for this scene, I think like there is a bit a perspective issue. Like when you have something in like basically, like if you want to, how to say, to show perspective, basically something far is really, how to say, not too much deformed, like. But when it's getting closer to the screen, sorry, it's getting more deformed. And this is also depending on your lens. If you have a big lens, like something will be really far and will be this size, and something will be really close to the camera, to the screen, I mean, and it will stay this size. a bit, not bigger. And the perspective will be really flat. And the more you will have a big deformation on the camera, the more things will get like deformed like this. You will have this big deformation. So think about the lens you want to use. Like basically for action scene, you can use the really flat lens, or you can also use the big lens. But in this situation, since your POV is the head of the girl, your point of view is the head of the girl, I would recommend to, since the girl is really far, to draw the scene more flat, on less perspective, and try to create not symmetrical posing, really something. And then when I will come to close to the guy, I will try to use the big deformation, a really big perspective. Not too big because we are still far from the camera, but enough big to show. And only those 2 frames, even if the drawing is really bad actually, but just the 2 frames there make clear that there is a lens deformation. After you can set the drawing, you can clarify it. Okay, this system is important, and this is something like you have to play with. Don't exaggerate poses when they are far. For example, if someone is falling from far, everything is pretty the same size. But when he's coming closer, you can get more. You can play more with deformation. Yes. Okay, so I come back to the reel. Also, there the motion was pretty regular, like the motion of the guy. He was waiting and then slicing. But what could be interesting is playing with the stretch he will use for the energy, like starting like this, and when he's coming, the expression become bigger, the eyes become bigger, everything big, like you see everything getting bigger, and then he starts the motion by the shoulder. Then the shoulder start to move, the arm, the sword stay at the same position, and then he starts to fight. He starts to slice at the last moment, like the shoulder was, like the head was reacting first, and then the shoulder was reacting to the head, to the situation, and then the slice is the really last. It's kind of head, shoulder, arm, and everything. And use some stretch. It's making the motion bigger, because if he want to make a big motion, he will use many energy. And the energy will kind of stretch the arm a little bit, not too much, just a little bit. Yes. Okay. I just wanted to ask how everything is with the time now.
We have around 45 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah,
I will tell you one last thing about the action scene, and maybe it's better if I focus on action scenes, because I can give more feedbacks with the time we have. So one last thing is I saw a face. Yes, the last face coming to the screen. Your geisha is kind of frontal, eyes like this, nose like this. What could be interesting is to add some perspective on this. Like first, look at when she's like this. I'm trying to add some angle. Like it's not frontal. It's you cannot see this place. You see more this angle than this angle. And then adding some kind of angle. That's the perspective. Yes. So you create some dynamic by the angles and the way you. This is the kind of stuff really used in Japanese animation. Like if you see all the Japanese animation stuff, always there will be angle, always there will be like the ground will be like this in the action scenes, I mean. And sometimes you will see some cuts more cinematographic, but for this kind of action, they really play with this system. Yes, and you can add a slow motion. It's always cool to see the cool poses you made for the end. Because this is really rough. So sorry for the rough, but yes. Yeah, just quickly. Okay, can you imagine the the motion? I really drew it really.
Yeah, yeah.
So basically, this is the system. Contrasts with quick speed motion, slow motions, creates dynamic angles, creates good perspective on dynamic perspective. This is something important for action scenes. Okay.
Thank you very much.
No problem. So I will go to the next now. Sorry. Okay. So I will check directly.
Just 1 second. We have to show George demo reel first.
Yep.
Sorry.
March? Yeah. What the fuck are you doing? Did you move it? Move what? The fucking gun. What gun?
So it's good.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I can share the screen again, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Sorry. I will import it on TV Paint in order to give more feedback. Okay. Okay. So during this time, I will try to give some feedback to the importation of the data. Okay. So there's something I really like on your animation. So okay. What I really like is the way you choose to show the action. Like if we stop on the frames, like the perspective you choose and the angle you choose is pretty cool. Maybe what I can say it could be a bit more wider, so we could see more of the scene. But it's a bit cutted, so we can see well the motion. But it's the intention is really good. On the playing with the tools around, like playing with the table on everything, it's a really good idea. Okay. Then the jump. like the timing you have there on the way he jumped on his stop on the jump. It's a pretty cool idea. I will come back on the how to say, the improving points later, but for now I'm trying to check the good stuff. And what I really appreciate there is you're playing with the camera motion, like you're just trying to play with the camera and everything. So this is pretty good. So let me check if everything is there. Yes. Okay. So we'll just delete the. Okay. So let's go to this. I think this cut would be like more cool if you could like just make it more this kind of angle. Then the main action would be around there, and this is a good place to put the action regarding your perspective because of the tierce rules, and it will make the scene more breath, more air. Okay. Here, the main problem for me is everything is pretty symmetrical. Like this is like the issue on this cut. Like the timing on the ID is pretty nice, but sorry, I'm a bit lost from there. Yes. So from here, like we have this. Everything is always symmetrical. It could be really more interesting if you could add a secondary action maybe, or just you can keep the posing like you did. Sorry, I'm lost in the. Okay. Oh. Yes. So for this, you could maybe try some posing. For example, when I say work by main steps, like starting one posing there, I'm thinking maybe you're coming from closer to the screen, so maybe you can be a bit more exaggerated. And after there, you can be a bit more far, I think. And then mainly the posing like can be a bit different, more like having kind of leg in this way, and the body part a bit in rotation, for example. So I will be open there. This will create some contrast on your posing. Then you can keep this same there. I'm trying to already turn it. And then maybe I should work more from, sorry, I got the direct later pose. So here is the main pose, here is the main pose. So you could. Okay. Or maybe contrasting, really contrasting, seriously. Like just and then coming back there. So how to go from there to there? He's like a bit in front of us, so we can see his body there. Yeah. So he will just turn on himself. So you add the secondary action. So tack, tack, and then he's turning. And then he's stopping the turn and kind of giving some stabilization in his motion. So tack. On the ring, he's doing this. Then he can throw the knife directly. And adding a great perspective there is really powerful for the knives he's throwing. Yes. So I think you were a bit shy on the changing of perspective, which would be like something bigger. So what I did here is trying to avoid the symmetrical effect, like just having one leg more in this way, one leg more in this way, 1 foot more there, 1 foot more there, one arm there, and everything. And I can also create this, just rotating the body. And create some like not symmetrical posing. Is it clear for you?
Yes, absolutely.
And when you see the motion, it's in few frames already, you get more contrasts in your animation. Not following only the motion, but adding posing, adding information, adding craziness on the action.
I think my problem in this motion may be because I'm stick to the reference and yes. I lean on this hardly, so I don't think more about the cool poses and more about like recreating this in a similar way.
What you should think in action scenes, you have to surprise the people in front of you. You have to create some surprise. And the best way to surprise people, like to create some vertigo for them, is to play with the effects, play with the contrast you can create. And this is really what gives a good action scene, the contrast, the effect also, and the camera, also the staging you create. So you have a good staging on some scenes, and there was only the contrast between the poses was too kind, I think. So we were kind of, oh, it's cool, but still thirsty about the animation like this. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, I suppose I get. So when I choose the angles about all this sequence, I think more like I want to take it from 4:3 camera, not camera, format. of display. So this focus on this moment and how they brutal move in it, and then go this wide and open area. I hope you understand what I mean.
George was trying to focus on the moment when characters break in and they break the moment, and then to go to a more spacious scene. Let's make sense.
Yeah, because in the beginning it was like it was very like square, you know, the ratio of the screen. Yeah, it's like 4:3, 4.3, right? And then it became much wider and more dynamic, and it was his like the direction.
He wanted to do like a samurai jack.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, I think you could keep. For me, all the fights is in the same atmosphere. So if you want to change the angle, it will be for a battle scene, for example, for an acting scene from a battle scene. Then we can understand why the fight is changing. I think it's good to use this system. I like it also, but use it for the really changing atmosphere. Like you are changing atmosphere, then the line comes, and then you can fight.
Yeah, George resumes that he needs to do two things, basically, to focus more on anatomy and drawing skills, to build more interesting poses, and to watch more anime.
Yeah, definitely. Like, feel free to take references and to copy some anime cuts, because it's something really important. Like in Japan, people don't fear but copy other system or copy other stuff, because this is the best way to learn. For example, for this scene, you start from a camera view from upstairs, so the perspective will affect the character. So if I don't do the correction, you did the character really this way, even if he's really this angle, like he's too flat for the perspective. So I just wanted to show you like you can add more perspective and more dynamic by thinking about really the perspective your character is. Yes. So basically, like sometimes when we begin in action scene, we want to do the greatest action scene, adding all the effect, all the camera motion, all the stuff. But sometimes you don't need that much. You just need to have a strong drawing, a strong posing, and a good scene with few things. It can create a really dynamic and crazy action scenes. So the drawing is very important. So also it will be more interesting if you could draw maybe the feet there, kicking adding some spin lines, because it will show the motion more clearly. Always thinking about the perspective, always thinking about the anatomy. And then, so, okay, like there is a really common issue here, and I think it's important to tell about this because this issue is common on many action animation. Whatever the lens you use, since you are using how to say, since you are using a perspective line, you should be always on the same side. So if your character's feet is there, and if the ground is flat and not going down, then the girl should be more up, and her feet should be there. Basically, since one element is touching the how to say the horizon line, it will always stay there. So if my character eyes are on the front line, when he will be close to the camera, it will be still on the front line. So this is a rule since the ground is flat. If you can understand this system, you will be relaxed. And it's pretty simple to get, I think. It's just we need to get on whatever the lens. Even if I have a wider lens, for example, let's say it will be the same. always the eyes will be there. So if it's the neck will always be at the same place. If it's the chest, and then you can understand well when your character is jumping on, or just when he's running, he's doing some small changing position, like his hips are going down on upstairs. If you respect this rule, you really can feel when the character is running. Okay, so let's check the export. Okay, switch. For me, we come back to the same thing. So here the perspective is really exaggerated, but here the perspective is more exaggerated than the previous pose. So this makes an odd feeling. On the this is due to the yes, sorry.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, okay, I'm not in the good layer. Okay. So since you're getting, the more you will get close to the camera, the more the deformation will be big, but the more you will be far from the camera, the more the deformation will be kind. So already at this time, it should be something more like this. If you see the motion, maybe a bit bigger. It's too far to close. It should be there. Yes. Because the feet is already far. Because when you you have this system, if I draw a perspective line, things will get bigger and smaller and smaller and smaller. I exaggerate like to show the system, but this will get smaller, smaller, smaller. So it's same for the things, for the posing, but it's also same for the spacing. It means if I take 1 second to make this to go from there to there, I will take 1 second to go from there to there, 1 second from there to there, and 1 second from there to there. 1 second from there, 1 second. That's why in some anime you will see some character falling, and then falling. Okay, and then falling. Oh, did I cancel? Okay, sorry. I just deleted the.
Oops.
Okay. So yes, so you will spend a longer timing on this. So you go from there to there maybe. Yeah. You will have something more in terms of timing. Now it's not in between, so can you imagine here it will be really slow motion and then it will accelerate at the last end. And then, okay. Then if you want to add some effect, you can maybe sometimes like cheat on this on the spend more time like on this frame, on a cool frame you want to show. The Japanese animation, sometimes they use some cheating to show the cool posing. So come back to this scene. And what you did for the previous scene, you didn't do for this one. Like you could add some cool perspective view also on this one, but you did a really flat on this one. It's the only cut I feel it's under the rest. Like when I see those all those cuts, I feel your level is higher than just this cut. To avoid this, you could choose, for example, you could choose this angle, but just maybe choosing a, let's say, if you want to keep this type of angle, you can keep it. but then use some.
Yeah, I'm
They
sorry
don't
to
do the same
say we
posing
have
you,
just
but
10 minutes left to end up in 2 hours, so we'll have to stay a little bit longer, I guess.
okay, it's okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So yes, so you can use the flat angle, but if you don't feel comfortable with the flat angle, use some other angle, like more upstairs angle. Then you can show the effect around. Or you can use this flat effect, but maybe use some. So yeah, the ground will be like this, and the action will appear in this way. So the character, the scene will be same than what you did, but with more perspective on the a bit how to say, angle on stuff. On the mainly, as your teacher said before, working the posing is important, because from there, like, the posing are pretty weak for now. So this is also on point. Before going deep inside the crazy animation, work on your drawing, on your posing, because this will give so much power in a simple scene. This is really important. Okay? So maybe the time is not big, so I cannot show exactly the good posing for this one, but maybe let's go to the next one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did I answer your question? Did I answer the some issue you had?
Yeah, sure. I'm working on that.
That's great.
Thank you.
No problem. You're welcome.
So let's show Salavat's demo reel.
Yes.
Let's ask Anna.
Anya?
I have it. Is it?
What are you saying? You're saying love is absolute. Yes! Yes! The kind of love that I'm talking about, it is absolute. The kind of love that I'm talking about, you don't try to kill people.
We're on air. We can start commenting.
Hmm?
We can
It's good.
start. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good, Mehdi.
Yeah. So do you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to the yes, the action scene directly. So there is, I feel, a lack of, your action scene is basically, when I see it, good on some points. Like you are trying to manage the volumes well, and you're not afraid to make some camera motion turning around the character during the motion you're happening. So this is kind of good, like I would say, good try. It's really cool. I see you want to play with the perspective, so it's also a nice try. I think it's nice. Okay, now going to the issue. So basically, the problem you have is you're mainly seeing the fight with the camera, and the character are there, and the camera is always watching there. The camera is never watching there, never watching there. but the camera stays stuck in this kind of area. Most of the time, there is some small variation, but most of the time also the character is seen from kind of American cut. Like you can see from his head to his hips, or a bit more. Sometimes the action like quickly go to small poses, but we don't have time to see it well. Just the most of the time we will see the character, this kind of, and especially from the middle. So this is not good for expressing action. This is more like a random, like a more acting cuts. Or so do you see when I say this on this angle? This angle also almost the same than this. Almost the same than this. There is a lack of contrast. Yes. On the mainly here, except some cuts. I think you worked a bit more on this guy, but the posing are pretty straight, like pretty solid. You are not trying to add some flexibility on the posing. Like if you work on this kind of cut, you should try to create a really awesome posing. Like when Japanese animation, when they want to create a great posing, they want to create a shot will not move that much. They really try to create a great posing, like trying to add some crazy information, like, oh, sorry, create some dynamic with the shapes. Sorry. Yeah, trying to break things, create perspectives, on adding some interest by the close motion wind that can add some power, create some angles. And here the problem when you see everything is almost in parallel side, like tick, 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 lack of contrast.
Too much static.
Yeah, exactly. Same here. Maybe here the perspective is too much exaggerated. Like the perspective happen only on these legs. I think the cut could be a bit more interesting if you're trying to make it clear. Maybe less exaggerating the perspective, like having something like this. It's already super exaggerated. And it's easier to manage. Let me double check something. Yeah, especially in this kind of perspective, like the ground should be really kind of curved. On here, the ground is pretty flat, so we don't feel the big perspective. Also, we are really close to the ground, so the perspective should be really flat. In this kind of, so bigger.
Yeah, and also it could be tilt, yeah, right?
Yeah, curved on. This kind of stuff. So here everything should be super long, and there a bit less, but still long. Something more like this. Yeah. Trying to build, maybe I think let me know if I'm wrong, but I think when you draw the dispose, you didn't focus on the perspective that much. I think you focused more on the posing.
Yes.
If you check the perspective things, you will see there is some issue. Basically, try to always double check your posing. Try to be free when you draw your posing, to be it with feeling, but always double check with this. It's important. So yes. In this cut, you did a slow motion, when he was already starting to go, like kind of on the go. What was interesting is maybe to make an anticipation, maybe to have something like, and then he start to go. Like he's kind of getting back and then start to act like this. Because the anticipation you did is going in the direction he will go, and especially he go down. So we feel like he will go there, but finally he go there. So this makes the motion less powerful. So, sorry. Here also, I think the perspective is a bit exaggerated. The gun shot, I will just try to stop there. Yes, a bit exaggerated. And we feel like, regarding to the perspective, I feel the gun is really long, really long, like really long, like it's almost one sword size. If you want to make it maybe smaller and everything, more interesting to, yeah, like this, like this. So, okay. I'm always thinking about the posing. Having something more broken, play with the shape. Sorry, my drawing is really messy, but just trying to make understand everything really. So, less exaggeration sometimes is better, and it's not less dynamic at all. The dynamic you want to add, instead of adding it on the perspective, add it on the drawings by contrasting your drawing, create some shapes, cool shapes and everything. Yeah. So I go back. Sorry. So for this part, I think you could contrast the scene by some scene like this. Having the character, showing the intention of the character, where, because sometimes action scene is also including some acting skills, so it's important to manage them well. So yes, showing his intention, and then when you show his intention, after you can go to another pose, more like this. And he's running, but running not like this, but like this, because he was close to the camera and then he went there, so he's kind of running like this. You can see here the top of his head, and we can see his shoulder. So, and if you wanted to add some power, you could add some ball passing around also. And since the ball is pretty powerful, it breaks the ground. Then he could escape this kind of stuff and avoiding the obstacles. So after, you can keep the next step of your animation since you created some contrast before. And then the last scene is the last attack. It's the most powerful motion, so it's cool you put in some feet shots. But if I wanted to create contrasts for the feet cuts, sorry. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Yep. Okay. Playing with stretch. Okay. Yeah. So yes. Yeah. And then, yeah. Sorry. Do you see what I mean? So
Yeah,
first, adding some sliding parts with some smoke and making a slow motion on this one.
now it feels much more powerful.
Yeah, and after the last time. Yeah. So I do it really quick. You have to set the motion for everything, but adding those details and animating well the effect and animating just the slow motion there. Yeah, just for this. Sorry, I think it should be there. And then when you go, you can add more effects. So this can stay a bit. I'm getting way there. And then okay. So it's really quick down on the just this is the principle, the logical of the system. But yes, adding some effect to improve the impact on the creating some more contrasts before the jump. I think that can add power to this. Doing some contrast. Okay. So we need to see this. We can see this. I think it's a way to improve the cuts. And then we are coming to the final action. So if we want to create a big action, and for now we see he's just jumping a little bit. So we feel like kind of frustrated. He's preparing a so big jump and then he's just jumping there. It should be more high. So I think you can have first frame. Sorry, just a bit. Yes. You can have first frame like the guy is there. And then he already started to jump. Repeat the action. Sometimes it's also work. Let's say he's already starting to jump. And then, sorry, just let me double check how we did it for records. Okay, I have another idea more clear. Sorry. And you can have something like this. Even this. Okay. So he's ready for jump. Arming his arm. Maybe this could be this way. And then you can have the next frame like this. Okay. So sorry, I'm a bit searching because the cut is pretty complicated. Yeah. Or you can start from this to there. Or if you want to add more contrast, you can also start from the same pose, but from the opposite side. So something like more. From there to there. And then to there. Okay. So let's clarify everything. So from there, you will go to there. Sorry. If you want to add more contrast, also you can. Okay, let's keep this for now. Maybe I can directly choose this. That's good. Then you stay a slow motion there.
Yeah.
And then you go to the next step. Sorry for it's really hard to read, so I'm trying to make it more clear. So we are starting to turn the camera. So the camera motion will be like, do you see a bit the system motion? The camera go from here and go after like this. And when you arrive there, you can be real slow motion with and before the impact. I don't know if it's clear. It's pretty hard to read. I'm sorry, maybe my perspective is not good because I changed the intention in the way, but sorry.
Maybe it's a bit difficult, the camera movement from the fist to this down, very grounded point of view, but I think it's okay.
Okay, no posites. Sorry, that's why I didn't. Okay. Yeah. So and then when you get there, you have the smoke around going in slow motion like this. This will give something like maybe more 4, and then eventually something like that. Interesting. So this is the main steps. Yeah. And then here since the perspective is moving, the factor become higher. So from here to here, we maybe have the hat of the guy. Yeah, maybe this is. So you need to adapt the slow motion behind this here. So this is the main frames. So I try to work on cool frames, always cool posing, making cool contrast between the hand on the head, and then making really clear information that he's arming, then having him from far, more far, more far, then ready to eat, then having some smoke going around like this. Yeah. I don't know if it's clear. I'm pretty rough because I'm trying to set the staging, but yeah.
I guess it's clean enough. It looks very cool. Thank you.
Okay. So this kind of stuff is giving pretty good contrast. And the last frame is whatever the animation you will do, the good important part is really the last frame, setting some cool contrasts. Like for now, I setting this, but I can be more smaller. I can be more higher in the sky. And my goal is to have a last frame really the best composition and the more powerful composition I can have before the impact. And then it's in terms of timing, the anticipation part is too small to create a big impact. What Japanese people do, they like to add some cuts. For example, I start to arm the cut, then I'm starting to close. I'm having a cut, and I focus on the hand, and I see the fist is kind of closing up, and then I see the eyes kind of growing like, and then I see a kind of the beginning of the action starting to punch, and then I have the far action, so I can draw it quickly. Okay, it's really quick. Just to show you the ID, and then okay. Sorry, should be represented. And then we can even put the both in the same case. It's pretty quick. And then okay, I'm using a camera motion. Okay. 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 So, okay.
Epic.
Yeah, I think it's a very good example.
Yeah, just we need to add some beginning of action there. So, okay.
Acceleration.
Yeah, to show the beginning of the motion. And to make it readable, always playing with the is out and is in. Yes. Then we can have something cool.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's very cool, very cool.
So this is the way it should work.
I think you did a very good example for our next students, for our next assignments. You know how to plan, how to make a staging, how to start to work, and yeah, and what is important. Yeah, like lenses, a perspective, a poses, dynamic, rhythm. It's very good example.
And especially what is important is to create contrast, create surprise in the staging and everything, to surprise, yes, everyone, to get something really impressive for everyone. For example, like now it's just staging, but like I don't need to draw anymore, but just to show, like for example, this can have some particle going off, or some lines also. And here the cape can kind of moving and create cool motions also. Secondary action. And then the impacts. I didn't add check cam because I don't have I need to go to After Effects to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you add check cam on everything, it will be crazy, and especially not on this kind of cuts, but on this kind of cuts, you can move the camera a bit and stuff like this to create. So that's all.
Do you have questions, guys? Salamat on stage, George.
Well, I kind of do. Yeah, it's kind of general question, but because you said that like the first sort of job offers that you got were from like stuff that you posted online, and so like what websites and what social media would you say are the ones that you mostly use and the ones that people contact you through to offer you something?
Basically, what I could say to you is to post everywhere you can. When I was contacted by Vimeo because at this time everyone was on Vimeo. It was before Instagram. But now there is Instagram and everyone is there and many studios are there and everything. Twitter also. So just post some stuff there, and post also on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on YouTube, on everything. Because the most your work will not increase. This is the same work you are posting in different platforms, but people will maybe go there and see your YouTube, but they will never see your Instagram. So they will check what is on YouTube and they will contact you for work. And same for LinkedIn. They will never go on Instagram, they will go on LinkedIn. And some people will never go on LinkedIn, but they go on Instagram and Twitter. So just use all the platform you can, post your work, and it will increase the capacity to work. Also for contacting like studio, if you want to start in the beginning, like what I did first, I had to contact studio in the beginning. I didn't have offer coming always. Sometimes I had, but most of the time I had to search by myself,
Mhm.
like the first year. Then I decided to find another way. I thought reading mails is boring for the recruiters, for people who are
Sure.
checking your
Mhm.
CV and everything. So I thought if I put a cool GIF in the beginning with a cool animation and I introduce the studio name there, even if it's a random animation with a case where I can put the name and I can do it for every studio, they will appreciate it. They will
It's a nice idea.
by the animation. So I decided to make a small animation, really short, like a few seconds, really a GIF in the beginning of the email. And then when they open the email, and it was really successful. Like when I did this with Golden Wolf, they just directly contacted me back and they had the project directly.
Nice.
Before I didn't have this idea, I tried to contact them and I had no answer. So just try to.
Great life hack. Yeah.
Yes, it's very nice. Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool. Any questions?
I have one.
So the next question from George is, what is the biggest difference between European or Western market and Japanese market besides the income? Is that cultural difference or some other difference?
Yes, first, the system is very different because they are working mainly on paper. And even if they are working with tablet on the softwares, they keep the paper system with timesheets on the layer notation, everything with Japanese, they have a really Japanese way to work. So this is kind of really different, and it's better to speak Japanese to understand this and to learn about this. So, and especially except this, also the way to work, I don't know how it's in Russia. Actually, in France, there are, I don't know if you know nerfs. This is kind of guns with the small like plastic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people in studio in France have fun and play with this kind of stuff. In Japan, it's not happening, so it's really.
So it's more strict.
Yeah, more strict on not strict. Like no one will attack you if you do it, but just people will be surprised and not ready for this. So just try to adapt their ways. The best way to make friends and the contacts there and improve on the starting a career there. It's not always, it's sometimes.
Yeah. And I have a question. Do you actually you can turn off your screen, I guess. People will see us more. Yeah, and I mean your window, yeah, your TV paint. And what you can suggest to people who build their portfolio to show to what to put in portfolio to, for example, to get a job in like in studio like you do, like you
studio, Japan or
you know, Japan and Europe, for example, as a line, Golden Wolf, and I say it not your camera. I say it because sorry, we can see we can see you.
So yes, to get job in Japan, what is important is to have a Japanese language first, if possible. For my case, it was different because I didn't plan to come in Japan. My way is a bit special. I don't advise to do the same, but speaking Japanese is the best way. If you don't speak Japanese, try to contact studio and see how it goes, but it's harder to find a job. But if you can find a job, people will wait to see strong posing and strong layouts. They prefer to see like one good, well-done character in good perspective in the background you draw. So each show you can draw the background, you can draw the character, and for them it's enough. It's better than showing too great animation with big camera motion, but the character are old and the perspective is not managed well. They want a strong drawing better than the strong motion, because the motion you can get it during the work, during the experience, and you will start as in-betweener basically. So just come with a strong drawing is most important.
Mm-hmm. And for Europe, yeah, and in Europe.
So in Europe, like in Japan, you can start from in-betweener, so it's okay. So you don't need the animation skill except if you want to be directly animator, but it's generally not happening. But for Europe, you need to be already complete animator. It means you need to have all the skills, like strong drawing skills and motion skills. But motion will be a bit more important than the drawing in Europe. But you need anyway good skills.
Yeah, thanks.
Best way I could advise you to enter the kind of job is also to check some reels about the people working there and try to get the same quality on your reel. And then you can be sure to get the job there, I think. Like trying to set the goal high, then you will get the fruits.
Yeah.
I have one last on this, I think last. I don't know if you have other question, but at least I want to say this advice. It's the most important advice I can give. Try to work with team. Don't work alone. Because with team, you can use everyone's brain to improve your work. It's so much more powerful than just working alone and satisfying yourself by your actual level. Just pointing out the bad point of the others and being able to accept our bad point is the most important point to improve. So team is the best way to improve.
Yeah. Cool, man.
Cool.
Yeah, because we all have an amount of attention, and it's really precious. The ability to take distance on your work is really precious, but it's not infinite. So when you are working a lot of time of an animation, you get used to it, and you forget all problems. But when someone comes with a new eye, it's so powerful to correct that problems.
So I think we're gonna end because in Russia, it's almost
it's midnight.
It's midnight. So yeah, and we have 3 hours stream. So thank you, Mehdi. It was very cool, very interesting, yeah, and helpful, I guess.
Yeah, super helpful.
Hope I could help.
Yeah, the host suggests to answer 3 more questions, really short. 1 question, 1 line answer.
Yeah, and very short.
Yeah, no problem.
What level of Japanese do you have now?
My level of Japanese is not that good, actually. I didn't have time because I decided I didn't plan to go to Japan. So when I went there, I didn't learn any Japanese. So I had to work a lot of work, and I didn't have time to learn. So I got now some skills, but I didn't learn it to school, just by talking with people. And also my girlfriend was Japanese, so I learned some basic skills, but still need to learn more. I can understand like 20% of what people say like this.
Have you ever met Yutaka Nakamura?
Yes, I met him. He corrected one of my cut, and then I visited Bones and I met him. He was with kind of yellow towel, really fresh guy. I heard that he's like, whoa. The animators really tired on stuff. Okay.
So the last thing is what you can advise for those who really want to do Japanese animation, like a motivation phrase or a short advice.
Yes, so like basically, if you want to go to work in Japan, don't wait a long time in your career. Since you finish school, just try to contact studios, try to make animations. Actually, some people on internet, they are young people and they are coming from many different countries, and they are kind of raising and working with Japanese studios, like the WebGen, like Western WebGen. And there is many people from Indonesia, maybe some people from Germany, some people from France. So just they try to do animation, they post some cool animation, and they follow the Japanese studio, Japanese Itako and everything, like Japanese, like you can find this if you follow them on Twitter. Then just post your work on the wait to be contacted, or just contact the studios on sending your portfolio also. Depends on if you want to work in Japan, if you want to work for Japan. This is the difference.
Yeah, we thank you from all the audience for participating in this feedback.
Thank you for taking the time, and I'm happy I wish I could help you the best.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you a lot.
Thank you.
honestly did. And not just because I'm strapped into space. There are no rules.
I'm not sure what we've got here, Charlie. But if we've got what I think we've got something. There's one way to find out.
Good evening, sir. I have a very, very urgent issue. Oh, my apologizes. I didn't introduce myself. My name is Semyon. I'm a janitor.
Be careful what you wish for, madame.
Are you threatening me? You are a terrorist. I have nothing more to say. I want to talk to your superior.